But this morning, I definitely want to be able to talk to you guys today about how your lack of personal growth is affecting your career advancement. Right. I know that, especially since you guys being on LinkedIn, you guys are always seeing tips about, how to fix your page on LinkedIn and all kind of job interview tips. And I really think all of those things are great. But I think what people need to focus more on first, in order to experience the success that they desire, is themselves, right? When it comes to career advancement and when it comes to career growth, guys, I'll say this: as far as your actual your skill set and all that, that's a small fraction. What is going to be able to determine the success that you want is your own growth. I tell people that you can only go as far as you grow, and that's why I really wanted to do this live with you guys this morning, so you guys can be able to see what is it going to take for you. What are those growth action steps that you need to take to experience the growth in your career that you so desire, right? Because I know that everybody desires some level of success, but the same energy that you are wanting to put in to succeed in your career is the same energy that you need to put in within yourself to make sure that you're even able to handle the career success that you desire. And I think it's very important to be focused on your growth, because what I don't want to happen, guys, is that you're so focused on the success of your job, or you're so focused on the success of the people that you work for, that you don't focus on your own success. Because when it comes to your career, it's not everything, right? It does not impact, but it does impact everything. And what I want you to understand and realize, that once you leave work, you are still a whole person. You're still having to deal with relationships. You're still having to deal with your kids, your spouse, your husband, life all together. But when you only focus on wanting to be great in your career, you're leaving a whole nother side of you left undone. So this morning, I want to talk about what is it going to take for you to be able to experience the growth that you so desire. Because a lot of you guys, your issue is not so much your experience or your skill set, or if you have what it takes. In reality, you have more than enough, right? But a lot of it is up here, right? A lot of it is that you have not put the time and put the attention on you getting the growth in your own self as you should be, right? But don't worry about it, y'all. I'm here to help you guys if you feel like you devote enough time to your personal growth. That's what I want to know, right? I want to know, when I'm talking about that, do you take time to reflect about where you are now, right? Do you take time to reflect about where you've been, where you are now, and where you're actually trying to go? Trying to see what are those gaps there, right? Is there any gaps in my actual personality that is going to allow me to get to where it is that I need to actually be? And if you guys see me looking down, I have notes. And so when we're talking about personal development, right, they are five aspects of that. That is spiritual, emotional, physical, right? And it's also, what is the other one? Mental, right? So we're talking about those five different areas of personal development. So I want you to really think about, okay, am I putting the attention on my physical health? Am I putting the attention on my spiritual health? Am I putting the attention on my emotional health, right? Because all of these play a key factor in your overall success. And when it comes to you and your own development, guys, it doesn't happen by chance, right? This is not something that you don't find yourself just, oops, oh, I've grown, right? You wake up one day and you start to see improvements. But it takes you being intentional about your growth, and it takes you, for one, being self aware. And that is the amazing thing about being self aware, is when you can take ownership of where you are, and you can be accountable for where you are right now in life. Right? I tell people, when I begin to get self aware, because I have not always been self aware. I thought I was, but I wasn't. But when I really begin to get honest with myself, and I really begin to say, hey, you know what? There are some things about me that needs to change. There are some things about me that was once okay, but it's not okay anymore, right? And when I begin to be more self aware, meaning I'm more aware of these particular traits that I have about myself, I'm more aware of how I respond to things, I'm more aware of what are those actual, like, trigger point. So when I began to get more aware, my whole life changed, right? The relationship with my husband changed, the relationship with my job changed, the relationship with my child changed, because now I'm putting that intentional focus on becoming a better person, right? And it's all going to tie into how that helps your career success in a minute. But I want you to know that when it comes to your growth, that is going to affect how fast you are able to advance at work. That is going to affect how much money you desire to make, right? Because everything in life starts with here. Everything, every action you take, every plan you make, it all starts with your thoughts. And what is able to make sure that we are able to produce the thoughts that we need to produce is making sure that we are working on the growth that comes with that. And like I said, when it comes to personal development, it's not something that happens by chance. You're going to have to sit down and you're going to have to realize, wait a minute, some things that I've been doing has not worked for me up until this point. And when you're thinking about personal development, guys, you can almost think about it as a SWOT analysis. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have heard of that. If you haven't, you think about a SWOT analysis, it's a pretty much you taking inventory of your strengths, your what is it, strengths, threats, weaknesses, and opportunities, right? So you're now sitting down wanting to take inventory of yourself, right? And once you do this, I tell people, because people are always on this quest of looking for like new information rather than them sitting down and dealing with the information that they already have, right? I'm gonna say that again. A lot of people are so focused on wanting to get new information that they're not dealing with the information with themselves that they already have, right? And so what happens is you find yourself starting to build, right? Starting to build on things that you haven't really dealt with, right? And these behaviors will start to exhibit themselves a lot of times at work. This is why you hear people saying, oh, this job makes me act this way. This job makes me do that, right? And that goes back to us being self aware and saying, hold on. It's not the job that makes me act in a certain way. It's just my job and the environment that I'm in brings these things out of me, okay? With what I'm talking about, when you feel like, oh my God, every time I'm at work, I act this way. But the reality is that it feels like it's just work. It feels like it's just your job because you're spending the majority of your time at work, right? So it feels like I'm only experiencing these particular things here, right? And I want to give you a little bit of an example, right? If you are one that says, Alicia, I have a really hard time speaking up at work. I have clients that always come to me and say, I cannot, like, I struggle with having to speak up. I say, I can almost guarantee you that you probably struggle with speaking up in other areas of your life. I can guarantee you that, right? Because who you are is who you are, right? It is not this, I'm not this particular way at work and then I'm at this particular way at church. And then, no, it's all the same people. So who you are is who you are. And I say, I can almost guarantee you that you struggle with speaking up in other areas of your life. And she just kind of like, she just stared at me, right? Because she realized that it was true. And I tell people this, I said, if you have a hard time asking for hot fries, there's no possible way that you can actually ask for a raise at work, right? So let's say that you are at some fast food restaurant and you notice that you have French fries, right? And your French fries are cold. And if you're like, oh my God, I'm scared to ask them for some fresh French fries because, for one, I don't want them to think I'm a certain way. And then, oh, I'm afraid that I'm going to get spit in my food. And you start overthinking, you know what I mean? You start overthinking, wait a minute, I don't want to do this because I'm so scared, right? And so you got to think about it. If you're scared to speak up for yourself about some French fries, what makes you think that you are going to ask for a raise? What makes you think that you are going to start to set the boundaries at work that you should have set a long time ago? What makes you think any of this is going to happen? And this is what I mean when I'm talking about that personal growth, right? Not just wanting to work on being a better employee, right? I want you to work on being a better you, right? Because once you leave work, you still have to deal with you. And I tell people, when you find yourself always in the same environments, right? You got to say, you know what, why am I always attracted to these kind of environments? Why am I always finding myself in environments at work that I feel like I'm not aligned with? The question I want you to ask yourself, is it really that you're not aligned, right? Because a lot of times you find yourself attracting what you are. And y'all, this is all about us being self-aware this morning, right? Because we only have a few months left in the year, and I don't want you guys going in to the next year, right? Not thinking about yourself the way that you should, not putting the attention on yourself the way that you should. And all the time, they're like, Alicia, I just feel like I'm always getting the same kinds of jobs. And I'm like, well, why do you think that is? And they're like, I just don't know. And so they are thinking that I'm ending up in these environments, the same environment, just, but I tell people, and I actually had a video that I made about this, and I was talking about, and I'm not a therapist. Let me say that. But I've done my own self work, and this is just things that I have learned for myself. A lot of times, things that you haven't healed from is what you will find yourself being involved in, right? Because a lot of you guys can probably understand and know that, even the people that you work with, even your boss, even the people on your teams, have the same traits of a lot of the people that has caused the hurt or whatever it is in your life, because you find yourself always starting to flock to these kinds of people. And that's because you haven't dealt with what you needed to actually deal with. Right. And so once you start to deal with those things, and you start to really confront and be self-aware and start to take ownership of not just, who you are, but the environments that you allow yourself to become or be in, your whole life is going to completely change, right? And that is what I want you guys to start thinking about. It's okay to desire career success. It is okay to desire things in your career, right? But first you got to see, who is the person that I need to become, right? Who is the person that I need to grow into? What are those traits at work that I know that I should have been stopped doing a long time ago? Why is it that I feel like, even though I have all of this experience, even though I've brought forth all of these accomplishments, even though I have all of these results, why do I still feel like I don't have enough? Right? So when you're talking about that personal growth, you're talking about getting down to the root of these things and saying, wait a minute, is the problem really my resume? Or is the problem how I think about myself? Because a lot of you guys struggle with your resume, right? Because you don't know the value that you actually bring forth. And that's a word. That's a word for somebody. Hold on one second. On that one, I think I need to drink my coffee. A lot of you guys struggle with the resume and what information to put on the resume, because you haven't even gotten clear on the value that you bring at work, right? And so I hope you guys are starting to see how all of this is connected. I see somebody in the chat that says, the problem I'm facing now is getting interview invites, but with no luck, right? Even when you're thinking about a job search, you'll be surprised how much of your personal development is intertwined with your job search. A lot of people take their job search so personally, right? If they're not experiencing the results in their job search as they should be, they automatically begin to just absorb all of that. And it causes self doubt. It causes them to be insecure. It causes them to start doing self sabotage, and they base their worth, and they also base just how they view themselves based upon what other people think about them. And let's really think about what is a job search process, right? The job search process, guys, and if this is helping any of you guys, I want to be sure that I am able to hit exactly where you guys are. But when you think about the job search process is you, let me say this is how most people see the job search process. You trying to prove yourselves to complete strangers. Look at the job interview process. And when you think about an interview, this is what I like to call it. I like to call it, you're having conversations with strangers, right? And these strangers are trying to decide whether or not they feel like you are a good fit for this role, right? So, and that's why I tell people, you cannot take your job search personal. These people do not know you. But the reason why you tend to take your job search to heart is because you don't know you, right? It's because you are trying to feel your way through this job search. You are trying to find validation out of how many job interviews you're able to land rather than already coming in to your job search with the validation from yourself that you need. Because a job search is hard, especially in the job market that we're in now, guys. It is competitive, right? You really have to come with your game. You really got to come with, with strategy, and you got to be clear, and there's just so many different moving pieces to a job search. So if you're already coming in to your job search insecure about yourself, not knowing who you are, not knowing the impact that you have on the inside, not even knowing just the results that you bring forth, not even being confident in how you're able to help them, your job search is going to kick your butt, right? Because every no you receive, every callback you don't get, you're going to internalize that as there's something wrong with me. No, friend, there's nothing wrong with you. This is just the process of going through the job search, right? But when you have started to work on your growth, right? And you start to experience hardships, whether it's in your job search, whether it's in your career, really, whether it's just life, and you start to experience those hardships. And as those hardships come, and as challenges come, they no longer make you doubt your self-worth. You start realizing, okay, this is hard, but just because this is hard doesn't mean that there's something wrong, because you've already validated yourself. You've already been doing that self work on yourself. So now, when you are being able to operate through that job search, now when you are going in through the job interview process, is no longer about pick me, please hire me, please hire me. It's like, wait a minute, do I want to work for you? I don't know, right? The whole mind shift has changed because it's no longer about me coming into this job interview trying to say all the fake answers, trying to look like the perfect fit, ignoring all of my needs and expectations because I just need this yes so bad so I can feel like I'm worthy. It's no longer about that. It's about you being able to walk into that interview and say, you know what, I know who I am, regardless of if I get a yes or a no. I know that when I leave, I know who I am outside of this. And that's because you've done that work. You've worked on you being able to heal those old wounds that you've experienced. If there's any old rejections, you've done the self work to where you're able to embrace these hardships and these no's as just stepping stones to where you really want to be. And you're no longer taking this stuff personal. Right. And that's why, I tell myself I'm not like most career coaches. I really don't even like to call myself that, but that's just the title, right? Because I like to dig deeper with people because I don't want you operating in a fancy job and you still feel like nothing. I don't want you making all of this, money and everybody saying that you are successful, but you still doubt yourself. I don't want you to get that C-suite position and you still stand up in front of your team and still feel insecure and still feel like you don't belong in the room. I don't want you feeling like that. So I got to dig a little bit deeper with you. I got to help you to be able to do the self work. I have to help you to be able to address those insecurities about yourself, right? I got to help you to get past all of that. And once we've gotten past all of that, okay, let's go. Now let's actually strategize and have a solid job search plan. Or now let's see how to have you operate in your career at the level you should be. But first, we got to deal with this, right? Because no amount of money, guys, no particular job role or job name, whatever you want to call it, is going to make you feel confident about yourself. If you do not validate yourself outside of your career, you're going to always struggle with being insecure. If you got to validate yourself outside of your career, meaning if I don't have a job, if I have to file unemployment, if I've been in my job search for 4 months and I have not gotten a yes, that does not take anything from me. That does not mean that something is wrong with me. It may mean that I need to tweak a few things about my job search strategy, but that doesn't take anything away from me, right? And when you do get the yes, you start and you do find that particular job, and you are hired on, you walk in there knowing, wait a minute, you chose me to be here, right? So it's no longer about me trying to prove that I deserve to be here, which often leads in people overworking themselves and being burnt out. It's no longer about me having to prove that I deserve to be here, but it's more about you need to be happy that I'm here because you saw that I was able to solve a problem for you. So now your energy is on you being able to operate in your secret sauce, right? Your energy is now on you being able to operate in your zone of genius. And your energy is not on you having to prove to yourself or anybody else that you deserve to actually be in the room, right? And this is what people need to realize. Validation has to come outside, right? Um, you cannot make external factors validate you on the inside. It's never going to work. You may experience that really quick excitement for a moment, but once that excitement wears down, once that new car smell wears down, once that new job smell wears down, you'll be back dealing with you, right? There's a comment that somebody says the worst feeling in the world is when you lose a job and internalize it. This helps so much. First of all, let me say I'm glad that I am able to help you this morning because that's what I'm here to do. And you're right, right? Losing a job, especially when you gave your job your all, right? To give something, and that's why this is going to be a really unpopular opinion, but I don't believe that you should be giving your job 100%. Now, this is probably like a whole different live. This is probably like a whole different live I need to do, but I do not believe that you need to be giving your job 100%. What I am not saying is that you should not work hard, right? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying work hard. What I'm saying is I don't believe that you should give your job your all, right? Because what happens is that people don't realize your job is not stable. There is no such thing as job security because they can literally let you go at any time, right? So when you have given your job your all, right, and it doesn't turn out the way that you think it should, what are you left with? You're left with doubting yourself. You're left with thinking, my all isn't enough. And yes, find the balance. I'm so glad you said that. Find the balance in between you being able to work hard but still not give your all. I'm so glad you said that because most people don't have the balance. So the worst feeling in the world, like you were saying, and you start feeling like, man, I gave my all and it wasn't enough. And I had a client that I dealt with, and she said, I just feel like, I feel like everything I do is wrong. And I started to ask her to describe the environment at work that she's in. And she said, she was telling me how she's always just being, her boss is on her all the time and just feeling like she's never enough. And I said, what happens is when you find yourself in environments, because you work like 8-9 hours a day in one environment. Like that's a lot. You really get like you're really spending like 40 plus hours in an environment. That's why it's really important for you guys to be more intentional about who you work for, because this is where you be spending the majority of the time at. Regardless if you work from home, you can still feel the office environment at home. But when you spend so much time in an environment that is always criticizing you, always making you second guess yourself, of course you'll start to be insecure, not just at work, but just in your life overall, because that is just what you're exposed to the majority of the time. But you have to not internalize that. Right? You got to be able to separate who I am from what it is that I do. You have to be able to realize that in your career, there is going to be times when you will make mistakes. Right? There will be times in your career where you're just not on your A game, right? Because of just maybe other things happening in life. Maybe you are having to learn a new skill, right? So there is a time period of maybe you're not able to produce the quality of results that you once did. So it's going to be times when you're not at your A game. And guess what? That's okay. And you know what? Just because you're not at your A game, again, it does not affect your self-worth. It does not mean that you lack something. You got to be able to grace yourself enough to go through the highs and the lows in your career. You have to be able to go through the highs and the lows in your career with grace. you know what? I'm not really, be honest, say, you know, I'm not really on my A game, but I know who I am, right? And y'all are cracking me up in this conversation. I can't be with people 40 hours a week. Child. Whew. But anyway, you guys are gonna have to be able to get comfortable, guys, in who you are. And so when you're doing this process of self-reflection, what I want you guys to start to do is I want you guys to start to just ask yourself some questions, right? Ask yourself some questions. And I tell people, you know, people lack, can't talk this morning. People lack clarity a lot of times, right? But you don't realize the reason why you lack so much clarity is because you don't spend enough time with yourself. You don't ask yourself the questions that you need to ask yourself. Like even with the clients I coach, I don't give them the the answers that they need. I just ask them the right questions so they can pull out the information that's already there. And sometimes you're not asking yourself the right questions. For instance, people ask me this all the time. When do you think I should leave my job? That's the wrong question to ask yourself. The question to ask yourself is what is it costing you to stay there? That's the right question to ask yourself, right? Another thing is people always like to ask, well, what do you think would be a good job for me? The right question to ask yourself is what am I wanting to leave behind in my career? What is it that I don't want to do anymore? Right. So you see how when you like change the perspective of the questions that you ask yourself, it can give you the understanding that you are wanting to seek. Right. Because you know, you can't ask yourself those surface level questions. You got to say, you know what? Is the question is not when I should leave. The question is, what is it costing me to stay here? Right. And so once you start to dig a little bit deeper, then the understanding that you need is going to, it's almost like a light bulb. Like I love when I'm able to coach my clients and I ask me questions and they like, huh, I never thought about that. Right. And sometimes you just need that outside person to come in and just shine a light on some things. So I do want to give you guys some questions to ask yourself, right? First question I want you to ask yourself is, do my short-term actions align with my long-term goals? So do my short-term actions align with my long-term goals? Let me ask this question. Do you guys have goals? So a lot of people, they just kind of go to work, right? They're just, you know, they work from 8 to 5. They go at home, cook dinner, and then they go to sleep and they do it all over again, right? When they're not actually working towards anything, right? But if you do have goals, ask yourself, do my short-term actions align with my long-term goals? Like, is what I'm doing right now getting me closer to where I say that I want to be? I want you to ask yourself that question. Another question I want you to ask yourself is, am I surrounding myself with the right people? Am I surrounding myself with the right people? And yes, somebody said, will you post these questions somewhere or make a downloadable form? I already got you. Yes, 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 yes. I do have a form that you guys can, you'll actually be able to download the form. That number is 833-455-4623. Oh, okay, I don't think it posted to LinkedIn. It posted to Facebook and YouTube because I'm streaming all at the same time. That number is 833-455-4623. Again, 833-455-4623. If you don't have the time to have it written down, if you send me a message, I will send you that actual phone number. Okay. So yes, I do have you guys. Another question is, am I taking on enough challenges to receive the growth I say I want? Right? Am I taking on enough challenges? Thank y'all so much for that. To receive the growth I say I want. Right? So am I putting myself on the right path to receive the growth that I want? The only way that you're going to receive the growth, y'all, is through challenges, right? Also, what fears are holding me back? What fears are holding me back? What changes or improvements have I made in the last year? Now, this is a good one. This is how you're able to see, are you growing? Like, not just growing in your career, right? But as a person, when you can say, what are changes or improvements that I've made in the last year? And this is going to be able to show you if you are really working on yourself. Because a lot of y'all are good. A lot of y'all are great at work. A lot of you guys do amazing work. A lot of you guys have skill sets that blow people out of the water, but you spend no time working on yourself, right? And you don't realize as you start to invest the time in your personal development, guys, it is going to make you so much more confident. It is going to change the way that you show up to work. It is going to make you see yourself in a different light because you know that you are doing the work to improve yourself. So when you start to put the time in to improve those areas in your life, you won't find yourself struggling with so much of these insecurities at work. Why? Because you're doing the work. I see a comment that says the biggest fear, let me see. Scroll, sorry guys. The biggest fear, what's on the other side before taking that leap. So, Terrence, what I think you're saying is that you have a fear of maybe trying something new or going to that next level. And let me tell you something, Terrence, that's normal, right? I tell people that if you experience in fear, that's a sign that you are growing because you're doing something outside of your comfort zone. So, fear is a great sign. If you're experiencing no fear in your life, if you feel really comfortable, that's a red flag. Because once you've gotten comfortable, you're not growing anymore. Right? So if you are one that you are experiencing fear, yes, friend, yes. That means that you are being stretched, and that's a good thing, right? Because now you are bringing yourself into like unknown territory, right? So that's a great thing. But what you got to realize that when it comes with fear, fear, it's I tell people don't spend time trying to get rid of fear. Fear is always going to be there, right? Anytime you do something new, anytime you're wanting to like advance to do anything else, right? It's the fear is going to be there. That's normal. So do not spend time trying to get rid of the fear, right? You just move past it. Like what comes to mind is like a football guy. Is that the right? Yeah, as you can see, I'm not into sports. But what I'm imagining is somebody is holding a football, right? And he's trying to like the other guy is coming and the other guy is trying to stop him. But he's holding this particular football, but he's like, no. And so what he does like is that little fake move and he like skeets around the other guy. That's how you gotta see fear. Like I don't have the time to try to destroy you. I'm just gonna skeet. I'm just gonna move right past you, right? And that's how you need to look at fear, right? And also what is going to help you move away from that fear is what are you thinking on? Right? Whatever your focus is on, that is going to be the biggest thing, is whatever you are focused on. So focus on the goal, right? So when you are focused on the goal, it's going to minimize the fear, right? For instance, y'all, one of the things one of the reasons why I started my own business because my husband he's in church full time, and being in church he has a lot going on, and so I wanted to be able to take off a lot of the stresses that he deals with, pastoralship, if you guys know and understand. So I didn't want him to have to work a full-time job and do that full-time. It was a lot. So I said, you know what? With God, He opened up a door for me to be able to start my own business. And so the goal and the reason behind me doing this is so that me and my husband can have the lifestyle that we want, have the actual schedule that we want, and not have to be stuck to a particular job, 8 hours a day. But how do you know that owning a business is hard? Owning a business is scary. Owning a business is like it will challenge you in ways you didn't even think possible, right? So when these fears come, or when I feel myself getting a little overwhelmed, I remember the goal. I remember the vision. I remember why I said I wanted to do this. And that's what I want you guys to do with all of those fears. Don't think about the fear. Think about, what is it? Why am I doing what I do? And that's another reason why you guys need to know your why. Why am I doing this? Why am I even wanting to pursue this? Why am I even wanting to make more money? And I tell people that if you stop trying to make your success just about you, it won't seem so scary, right? But when you make your success about other people, I tell people, you serve yourself by serving other people. So if you like, look, I really want to make more money because I want to be able to provide a better lifestyle for my kids, right? When you start to think about stuff like that, you like, I ain't got time to be scared. I ain't got time to worry about this fear because my mind is so focused on the goal, right? But my mind is so focused on providing a life for my children. So it's like, yeah, the fear may be there, but my focus is on something much greater. So if you focus on how your skills and your actual abilities is able to impact the people around you, and how you'll be able to serve them, then that helps with the fear as well. We have another question. He said that is a good point. Good point. The fear more is so if your new position is going to be secure with the new company that employs you, the current. Oh, okay. So what I think what you're saying, and Terrence, let me know if I'm right. What you're saying is that you are afraid to take a new position because you are afraid that maybe it is not as stable as you think it is. So I think that's what you're saying. You're afraid to take a new position because you don't know if that's going to be a secure position. Now, I do have mixed feelings about this, right? Because this is the thing. Like I don't know if you were on earlier. I was talking about no position is secure. So just as you are able to get let go of at this new company, your old company can end up doing the same thing, right? And you have to realize, and you got to be able to trust yourself enough to know that if I got this job, I can find another job. But the other side is that you really need to do your due diligence with this new job, right? Or this new place that you're wanting to work at. How established are they, right? Have they like really been around a lot? Also look at, right now we are in a recession, or we're on the brink. I don't know, y'all changes every day with the news. Start seeing as far as the actual like that particular space that you're in. Is this a space that's very like vulnerable right now? Because when it comes to jobs, the last one in is the first one out. So it is a risk, right? But you gotta think, everything you do is a risk. Every time you get in your car and drive, there's a risk that you could die. That's a risk, right? But people still get in their cars every day and they drive to work, right? And so you just got to look and see, is the reward greater than the risk, right? Because if you're at a place now, you're like, Alicia, my current position, my skills are being stagnated, I'm overworked. If you have a list of like reasons why you need to go, and you see one con on the other position, you got to start to really think about that and to see, is it worth the risk? And you are worth the risk. I'm going to say that again. You guys got to start realizing that you're worth the risk. And this is not to tell anybody to go and leave their job today. But I'm saying that when you have to make tough decisions and there's a risk, start looking at it. Am I worth the risk? Kind of like what I said earlier. What is it costing me to stay at this job, right? So I want you guys to start to ask yourself those particular questions to get a handle on your growth, right? To really get an idea of where you are and where you want to be, and what do you need to do to fill those gaps in. Because think about it. Think if you get really intentional about your growth, where you can be in the next 6 months, like where you can be the next year, if you really start to get serious about, okay, what is it that I need to do to grow? Like, what is it that I need to do to actually advance myself, not just in my career, but in my overall life, right? What is it? What is it that I need to do to make sure that I'm not stopping the success that I say that I want, and really have to be able to get focused on that and be strategic on that. I don't know if you guys know, but I actually have a my own group which is called Purpose to Paid, where this is what we are all about, guys. Like, you putting the effort in on your growth. This particular growth, this particular group is focused on career and professional development. This is a group that helps you manage your career, which a lot of you guys are not doing. A lot of you guys, the only time you think about your career is when it's time to job search. But you got to learn how to manage your career and learn how to always be open to opportunities, right? Always make sure that you're setting yourself up for success. That is the key, making sure that you're always in an opportunity, an opportunity to where you're able to capture opportunities, right? And so this is why I created this group, to give you a safe place to come and get the help that you need, the support, the space to vent, a space to come where you can get the all of the questions to the answers and the struggles that you're having, right? And so if you guys are looking for that kind of support, if you guys want that kind of accountability, right? You like, I've been saying I need to do this and I haven't started it yet. You guys are able to join Purpose to Pay. It is you can either do, there's two different plans. You can do um, uh, $90 every 3 months, which is $30 a month, which is like less than $1 a day. Or there's a plan where you're able to sign up and it's $200 a year, right? So this is like a very small investment for the upgrade of a lifetime, and you guys can go find more information out for that at purposetopay.com. That's PURPOSED paid.com. If you have any questions about the group, or if you're wondering if you would be a good fit for the group, I want you guys to send me a message and let's chat. But I hope this live, guys, was able to really help you guys to start just examining yourself. Like, what are those areas I need to grow in, right? So if you're one that you struggle with speaking up at work, if you are one that you don't know how to voice what it is that you want, if you want that you're scared to set expectations, and so now that has resulted in you being overworked and burnt out, if you're one that's struggling with all these things, right, that's a sign that it's time for some growth, right? And it doesn't have to be hard, right? Now the now, what may be hard is you having to admit certain things about yourself that you may not want to admit, but it's just about you saying, you know what? It's time for a change. So I want you guys to take the focus off your resume just for a second. Take the focus off your resume just for a second. And I want you to put the focus on you. Again, you can get some. Now, I did not add these particular questions that I have on my form. Those are not on the form. I gave you guys some more new questions to ask yourself. But if you do want the 5 questions I have here, please send me a DM and I will give you these questions. But if you want some more personal development questions to ask yourself, you can again text the word growth to 833-455-4623, 833-455-4623. And y'all have not went live on LinkedIn in a month, but I really enjoy myself. So I'm definitely thinking this is something I'm going to be doing every week. So this is something that you guys would want me to do every week. I'm not just going to be talking about job searching. I want to talk about all things career and personal development. So if you guys enjoyed this live, please let me know. Please share this with a friend. If you know any friend that could help with the information that I share. And yes, I just saw this. You are worth the risk. You are worth the risk, right, guys? I'm so glad that you guys enjoyed this live. If you have any particular questions about this live, Please make sure that you guys send me a DM. Please make sure that we are connected on LinkedIn. Yes, one of the comments says, "Go for it." And that's y'all. I don't want y'all to be scared no more. Like we only got one life to live. Like, let's do it. I really believe that the Lord has confirmed some things to y'all a long time ago, and you still haven't moved on it. Let's go. Let's get to the point, guys, to where you're not allowing fear to stop you. Because the reality is we all out here scared. And with a lot of you guys, there are people less qualified getting the opportunities that you want, right? Because they are able to move past their fears and you haven't. So I want you guys to focus on one, starting to invest in your personal development, and two, moving past those fears. Again, guys, I enjoyed my time with you on this morning, and I will speak with you guys